All right, so welcome to Algebra. Um, so we're going to be recording some new videos. This is the fourth semester. I flipped the Algebra 1 course, and whether you're taking it as one semester or just as a part two, um, you're going to go ahead and do the flip course. What we want to focus on is, in the past, I would do the whole notes and then expect you guys to have them all done and then jump right into practice when you got to school the next day, or whenever that was. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to focus on you're responsible for everything I do in the video. Any practice that you see, we're going to do together in class. So your responsibility is to watch the video and then come prepared to discuss it. Okay, so be prepared to talk about what are the main points of what we're trying to accomplish for that day. So most of the time in the videos, I'm going to try to keep them under 10 minutes. We're going to focus on the hardcore vocabulary, and then in class when we get together, we're going to apply it before I put you out to practice on your own. So our goals today are to recognize like terms, and then to simplify expressions by combining like terms. So hopefully you have seen something like this before, and you were taught different ways, I'm sure, how to do this. But like, you can only put things together that are the same. And so, the answer to this one is 5x minus 11y. And then these two things are the same. And you write expressions in order from greatest power to least. So negative 6x squared minus 3x. Hopefully that's a review. We'll go a little bit further into depth with that when we talk in class. Some vocabulary pieces you need to know. A term is a number, variable, or a product of quotients or of numbers and variables. Like terms are terms that contain the same variable which have the same power. So obviously if there is no variable, you just combine them because they're all numbers. A simplest form is an expression with no like terms and nothing else left over, so like no remainders. So like they're going to have a number, like it's just going to have a number at the end. You're going to put them all together. The coefficient is the numerical factor of a term. And so usually, like, if you have an x and you have a 6 in front of it, then the coefficient is 6. So when we simplify expressions, the first thing that we do is we distribute if we need to. And we're going to talk about the distributive property here in a minute. Distribute. The second step is to group like terms. And remember, my hint is kind of what you saw me do with the first question. Box and circle like terms with the sign included. You'll make sure you're able to, put everything together. And step 3 is to simplify. Alright, so when we're in class, we're going to be talking about these 3 steps, and you guys are going to get an opportunity to practice using these 7 problems. I will tell you that number 6 has a little bit of difficulty that we'll talk about in there with it. It's not just about the fractions either. And we'll also talk about this slide real quick in class. One of the things that I want to review with you is the distributive property. Hopefully you've seen the distributive property before, but as a review, for any numbers a, b, and c, if you have a number outside of parentheses, and two numbers or two symbols inside the parentheses, whatever's outside can be distributed to every term inside. And I call this the rainbow method, where I basically just make sure I touch all the parts inside. A gets multiplied by B, and A gets multiplied by C. Same thing here. Give you some opportunities to practice that. We will discuss the distributive property in class again, and make sure that you have an opportunity to practice that in class and get some feedback from me. You also can use the distributive property backwards. So when you undo the distributive property, instead of distributing something, you are taking something away from the group. Spacing is bad. So, important thing about undoing distributive property is you find what is common to each group. Once you know what's common, you put that number of variable outside the parentheses. And then you rewrite each term without the number of variable, and you keep the signs between the terms. So I'm going to give you one example of how to do that with a really easy problem. These two groupings both have 6. So the 6 comes out. I have parentheses. What I have left is 4 plus 2. And so that's what goes inside the parentheses. So that's undoing the distributive property, or creating parentheses. All right. So what I expect you to come in with, and I've got one other video you have to watch today, is just being able to talk about what are like terms. How do I simplify expressions using the distributive property? How do I undo the distributive property? If you know those 3 things, then you are prepared for class tomorrow. Any questions, come see me or give me an email, and we'll see you guys in class.